Global TV News Express. Thousands gathered at Rivers State Government House for Fubara's return. In business, federal government, states, local governments share 2.2 trillion naira August revenue. And on the foreign scene, United Nations slammed treason charges against South Sudan's Machar. And in sport, the Super Eagles dropped to 45th in latest FIFA ranking. Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Express on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Ramsey Enoch. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy Ngozi Odu are resuming office in Rivers State following the end of the 6-month emergency rule imposed by President Bola Tinubu. Thousands of excited supporters gathered at the government house to welcome them, while security and emergency officials were stationed around the premises. The outgoing administrator, Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas, urged political actors to embrace mutual respect and dialogue as he handed over power. President Bola Tinubu has commiserated with the families of those who lost their lives in the fire incident at Afriland Towers on Lagos Island. The president also extended the condolences to the Federal Inland Revenue Service, who lost 4 employees, and United Capital, who lost 6 workers in the inferno. Tinubu, however, commended the emergency responders, including the Federal Fire Service, first aiders, medical personnel, and members of the public, for their quick intervention, noting that their deep sense of responsibility during the evacuation is appreciated. The United Nations Children's Fund, that is UNICEF, has pledged continued support for President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda, with focus on health, nutrition, education, and human capital development. UNICEF country representative Wafa Saeed Abdulatif gave the assurance during a visit to President Kashim Shettima at the presidential villa in Abuja. Commending the administration's flagship program such as the Nutrition 774 initiative, Shettima described UNICEF as a dependable partner and said the government remains committed to working closely with the agency to drive youth development and education reform. The National Examinations Council, that is NECO, has released the result of the 2025 Senior School Certificate Examination, SSCE internal, 54 days after the last written paper. Global Television's Priscilla Obasi now reports.
At the NECO headquarters in Minna, Niger State, Registrar of the Council, Professor Ibrahim Wushishi, announced that out of 1.3 million candidates who sat for the June-July examination, 818,492, representing 60.26%, scored 5 credits and above, including mathematics and English.
Number of candidates with 5 credits and above, irrespective of mathematics and English, is 1,144,496 candidates.
Wushishi also disclosed a significant drop in malpractice cases, with 3,878 candidates involved this year compared to over 10,000 in 2024. He added 38 schools in 13 states have been flagged for mass cheating, while 9 supervisors have been recommended for blacklisting.
9 supervisors, 3 in Rivers, 1 in Niger, 3 in FCT, 1 in Kano, and 1 in Osun states were recommended for blacklisting due to poor supervision, aiding and abetting, lateness, unruly behavior, assault, and insubordination.
Meanwhile, Kano, Lagos and Oyo states produced the highest number of candidates with 5 credits and above, including mathematics and English, while the Gabon Center recorded no candidate with such performance, highlighting the sharp disparity across regions. With the new curriculum now in effect, NECO will also streamline its exams to 38 subjects to cut down waiting time for results. Priscilla Obasi, Global Television News.
The federal government has reintroduced Nigerian history as a compulsory subject in basic education to promote national identity, patriotism, and responsible citizenship. The Ministry of Education announced that pupils will study history from primary 1 to JSS 3, while senior secondary students will take civic and heritage studies, combining history with civic education. The ministry says the reform, which reverses the 2009 removal of history, will be supported with teacher retraining, resources, and monitoring to reconnect children with their roots and foster unity. Following the arrest and detention of politicians and former presidential candidate of African Action Congress, AAC, Omoyele Sowore, the federal government has filed charges against him over his refusal to take down social media posts of Facebook and X said to undermine Nigeria's president and his office. Charged alongside Sowore are social media giants X Corp and Meta, which is the parent company of Facebook. Global Television sat down in an exclusive interview with Deji Adeyaju, human rights lawyer, who shared his thought on the issue.
Upon his arrest, the Department of State Services had requested Sowore to delete posts on his Facebook and X timelines considered defamatory to the person and office of the president, a request that had also been extended to the management of the 2 affected social media entities. However, the federal government on September 16, 2025, filed a 5-count charge against the former presidential candidate. In a swift reaction, Sowore has also countersued the Nigerian government for what his lawyers have described as breach of their clients' fundamental rights. In his response, Deji Adeyaju says the charges are frivolous.
Completely frivolous, childish, unnecessary. Just a distraction, mere distraction by the government. We have to focus on better things sincerely, you know. And look at the terrorist guy in Zamfara, brandishing AK weapon, and nothing is being done. He walks free. That's the nation we are. You target activists, you target protesters, and just irritating to say the least. Even the act in question has been repealed. The issue of cyberstalking and all that has been repealed. Even the act, the relevant section upon which he was charged has been repealed.
On the possibility of the Cybercrime Act working against Sowore, Adeyaju stated that the piece of legislation itself cannot be enforced in this instant matter.
And we were involved in the case. In the case, myself, and the Falana SAN was the one that led in that case in Lagos before Aluko J, Honorable Justice Aluko J, between IGP and Chiboro Harrison, popularly called Ijele. The Federal High Court has struck down such charges. The authorities ought to know and ought to do better.
Now that Omoyele Sowore has been formally charged, Nigerians await his arraignment by the federal government. Uyi Agmofwegbe, reporting for Global TV News.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says the most effective way to guarantee greater representation for women and other marginalized groups in elective position is through affirmative action backed by clear legal provisions. Chairman of the Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, stated this while receiving members of the Women's Collective Forum on an advocacy visit to INEC headquarters in Abuja. Sadia Yakubu completes the story.
The INEC chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, explained that the ongoing review of the Constitution and the Electoral Act provides an opportunity to push for amendment that will entrench women's participation in legislative assemblies and party leadership structures. Professor Yakubu noted that INEC already operates a gender policy with women leading more than half of its departments and directorates. He added that political parties have also been urged to open more space for underrepresented groups.
We recognize the importance of taking such steps. In the last few years, the Commission created a special women's-only slot for promotion to the rank of director, and this policy has paid off. Today, 12 out of 22 departments and directors of the Commission are headed by women.
Meanwhile, the ambassador to Ethiopia and Djibouti, Nkoyo Toyo, commended INEC's efforts in the electoral process and appealed to the Commission to provide women an avenue for proper representation at all levels of government.
I can tell you that the women's movement in Nigeria has studied almost every country you can imagine on what they have done, what they have not done, and why the situation continues to be different for us.
The INEC boss, however, assured the Women's Collective Forum of the Commission's continued support in advancing inclusive democracy in Nigeria.
Sadia Yakubu reporting for Global Television News.
In the meantime, 3 Nigerian pilgrims earlier detained in Saudi Arabia over alleged drug trafficking have regained their freedom. Director Media and Advocacy at the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Femi Babafemi, disclosed this while addressing journalists in Abuja. Kikelomo Okere completes the story.
Saudi authorities have released 3 Nigerians who were arrested last month in Jeddah during the Lesser Hajj for alleged drug trafficking. The Director, Media and Advocacy, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Femi Babafemi, says the release comes after weeks of high-level engagement between Nigerian authorities and their Saudi counterparts.
Therefore, happy to inform you that following the series of engagements, one of the 3 Nigerians was released from custody on Sunday the 14th September and the remaining 2 on Monday 15th September 2025.
It reveals that following complaints from the families of the detainees, the chairman of NDLEA, Brigadier General Buba Marwa, retired, launched an investigation which led to the arrest of drug kingpin Mohamed Ali Abubakar, also known as Bello Karama, along with 3 accomplices, including airline officials. NDLEA boss commends Saudi authority for honoring the Memorandum of Understanding, adding that the case demonstrated President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's commitment to ensuring that no Nigeria suffers unjustly abroad.
Chairman Chief Executive Officer of the agency caused an investigation to be conducted into the cases, the outcome of which revealed that a syndicate operating at the Malam Aminu Kano International Airport, Kano, that is Makia, had tagged bags containing illicit drugs with the names of the 3 unsuspecting Nigerians who were later arrested in Saudi for alleged drug trafficking.
With the suspects behind the drug trafficking scheme now facing charges